Hi, everyone. Welcome to another exciting edition of Words, Images, and Worlds. On this episode, I'm delighted to not only have one guest, I have a team here, a double team. I'm delighted to be joined by Anna Maria Cool and Hildy Mesnik-DeFalco. Hi to you both, and thanks for joining.
Hi.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Now, folks out there will know you for work on a particular character who's recently become very popular thanks to Margot Robbie, and that is, of course, Barbie. Are there other titles that you'd like to mention before we dive into a couple of other questions that folks should know about you?
Um,
Yeah.
I have also worked on Elvira comics for Claypool,
Hmm.
and that was a ton of fun. Not that Barbie wasn't fun; she was a ton of fun too. But Elvira was, in a slightly different direction. Um, Funny horror, sexy comics, and they're not comics so much, but I've also illustrated a lot of work for the Oz Club, the International Wizard of Oz Club. And
Well,
I'm known in those circles and might be doing a an Oz Kickstarter starting next spring. We were going to do it this year, but it's been postponed, and it will adapt the Patchwork Girl of Oz,
oh, wow.
written
Very
by
cool.
Andy Mangles, and he's
Yes.
gotten a great team together, and I'm the penciler, and one of my Barbie inkers, Barb Kailberg, will be inking me.
Hmm.
Nice.
So she's wonderful, and what we've done so far, she's really done a beautiful job on my promotional art. So
Love it.
that's
Love
Fantastic.
it.
yeah.
And since my
Barbara.
Barbie days, I've mostly been as a freelance editor. I I've worked with some first-time authors on their first novels, and I've really enjoyed that. Some of them got published, some did not. But mainly, I've been working with writer, artist, cartoonist extraordinaire Barbara Slate, who I think might have been on your show. And I've
Mhm.
edited. You can do a graphic novel for her. I Got Married in Other Mistakes, the Robert Mueller graphic novel, the Cassidy Hutchinson, and her current magnum opus, which is her autobiographical graphic novel, My Comic Life, which we're still working on. It's just wonderful. So I've worked with Barbara a lot. It's been a
Looking
real joy.
forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah, those
Barbara
are
Kelberg has
cool.
also been on the show. And
Oh,
Andy Mangles was almost on. We had an appointment and then for some reason we couldn't keep it. So maybe I'll
he's
get to
a
chat with him sometime.
he's a very busy guy. He does a lot of stuff. Plus, for the Patchwork Girl, he's making a doll. He's doing
Wow.
all kinds of extra stuff for people who donate to it. So he's incredibly, which is probably why the Kickstarter was postponed till next spring because he just had so much on his plate. I think he
Hmm.
had another Kickstarter going too this year. So
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope you can get him because he's got lots of stories to tell.
I hope so too. Absolutely. Well, I have a couple of questions here that we can sort of roam through. And Hildy, I'll start with you if that's okay.
Sure.
Curious about your origin story, what connected you with comics and storytelling, and I think there's the term literacy that might come up in that as well.
It might come up. Well, I did read comics as a little girl, but not superheroes. It was like Little Lulu, Little Lotta, Richie Rich,
Oh,
Casper, those type of comics. And I had a lot of fun with them. Oddly enough, I didn't read Archie. I know a lot of my compatriots read Archie, but that wasn't one of my things. But that was kind of the beginning of the connection. I kind of fell into comics, which is a long story. But the other connection for me with Barbie was the magnificent stories and incredible artists and just the creators. The connection there was just amazing. I had a fabulous team, and so I felt really, really privileged and really privileged to work with a superstar like Barbie.
Hmm. Hmm.
she, she had a lot to teach, and the Barbie comics got a lot of response. We'll get into that later, but that was mainly my connection, just to be able to be the arbiter of bringing these wonderful stories and artwork to mostly little girls and mostly a crew of women creators. So that was special.
Yeah. Anna Maria, same question. What connected you with comics and storytelling?
When I was a kid, we had my brother. I have three brothers, and one of the brothers somehow got a hold of DC Comics, like the Inferior Five, which had Dumb Bunny, which I thought was okay, whatever. And I they were amusing, but I didn't fall in love with comics until another brother came home from college with a stack of Marvel, and this was in 1969, right?
Mhm, mhm,
All the covers had been torn off, but I just fell in love with the Marvel way of storytelling and the dynamic art and Jack Kirby and John Buscema, and it just
Mm.
really took me to another place and hooked me. And when I discovered that Marie Severin worked on Hulk and it was a penciler and an inker, I was totally impressed. And I thought, oh, they let a woman do this stuff too.
mhm, mhm,
And she became my hero. And much later, years later, my first job with Marvel was Hug a Bunch,
mhm,
which was a Hallmark um, license. And I happened to be working for Hallmark Cards at the time. And so I had the people who created her right there. And Marie colored one of my issues, and she made a comment to someone in the bullpen, maybe the editor. Was it you, Hildy? Oh no, that was Sid Jacobson.
mhm.
I think Sid Jacobson was editing that. Anyway, she commented that these are nice pencils, and that just like, oh,
Wow.
made me so happy.
Nice.
But that's how I got started with comics and with Marvel. And um, Sid Jacobson was the one who called me at Hallmark and said, "How would you like to draw Barbie? It's right up your alley. We're
They
gonna have
said
all girls doing this." And
smart acquisition on his part.
Mhm, mhm,
yes, yes. And I said, sure. So that's how that started. Hildy was not the first editor. Fabian Nicieza was,
mhm,
because they usually went to him to start new titles, was my understanding. And he was great. And finally Hildy took over, and she was our
Oh,
queen and leader. And that's how we all fell in line and enjoyed every minute of it.
I got
So
you.
yeah, it was
Absolutely.
it was
Absolutely.
good times.
Well, Hildy, back to you for the next one. You've made this indelible mark in comics and culture. Uh, what is that like at this point to look back on and to have made that kind of mark?
I, you know, I'm really glad to hear that. And I thought about it. And I think one of the biggest impacts we had with Barbie was that the stories that we told um, and the um, character of Barbie and the things that she could do and the adventures and fun, I feel strongly that it made girls and young teens feel that women and girls can do anything because Barbie was a great role model for that. And the creators that we had just gave us these wonderful, empowering stories. So I felt that was kind of my indelible mark is that I made girls begin to think we can do anything or help them to think that with the Barbie comics. And we had great feedback with that as well.
Yes, we did. We
What
got
would
lots of letters, mostly from kids
Yeah.
saying, "I have this Barbie and that Barbie," but sometimes they would talk about the stories and the
Yeah.
art.
And actually we got, I think the mailroom told me that Barbie had the most fan letters, even more than the superhero titles.
oh,
And we heard from parents, we heard from educators, we heard from psychologists, and
Wow.
it was all good. And Anna, you may remember that the Barbie comics got the Parents' Choice Honors. Do you remember that?
Yes,
Yep, we
I do
got that.
remember that.
And
Yeah.
I believe that the sales department told me that Barbie was also number one in subscriptions. So yay,
Oh,
wow.
Barbie.
Wow.
I was going to ask about your experience, Hildy, with working with Mattel first, and then
Yeah.
come back
Yeah,
to
let's
you
go
if
back
that's
to
okay.
Anna's and Bella Lamar too. Mattel was a bunch of, I shouldn't say a bunch, a group of really professional, sharp women. I learned a lot from them, business wise, and they're just great. And they made me a better editor, and they made Barbie a better character, because I think this is the first Barbie comics. I know there have been Golden books,
Mhm.
but I believe this is the first Barbie comics. So it was a great experiment, and they were very pleased and really pleased. And we got awards. Barbie also got a cover award from booksellers. Can't think of the whole thing, but they were a great group, and they were really pleased with what they were doing. And rarely did they have a change. I think we tried to hit on some controversial subjects a few
Yeah.
times. I'm trying to remember what. Do you remember, Anna, what the controversies were?
Not exactly, no, but I know you had to rewrite a few things, and I
Yeah,
had to redraw a few things too.
yeah. They shut us down a couple times, but a couple times they let us go on.
Yeah.
Barbara Slate might remember, but yeah, some cool stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, Anna, you're indelible.
My indelible
Indelible.
mark was that it's similar to yours, Hildy, that we provided a comic that girls could enjoy and learn from. And
Mhm.
at some point during that time, Marvel had a Marvel Mega Tour and sent us to a bunch of different cities for conventions, strictly Marvel conventions. And they had artists and writers lined up at tables and lines of people coming to meet us. And I had this line of little girls, and I had a stack of Barbie comics. And
Love
I
it.
truly believe I gave them their first ever comic book.
Uh,
And that felt
Just
really
love it.
good.
Just
I
love it.
think some of them thought they were going to meet Barbie, and I don't really have that hair, but it was just a lot of fun. It was very gratifying. And those were just, it just felt really good to do
And
that.
what Anna said about making girls want to read comics goes back to what Jason said about the literacy, because I always
Yeah.
feel that if you give a kid a comic book or anything to read, and we love that we could give them a Barbie comic to put in their hands, if they would read Barbie and maybe then read a young adult book and then a novel, just anything to get them reading, because I think we all agree that reading is the world. You can have
Yes.
the world just through reading. So more literacy, definitely an indelible mark for me.
I still go to conventions and have young women grown up come to me and say, I read these books and I absolutely love them. And that just warms my heart. And
So sweet, so
I
sweet.
know. And sometimes they bring the books for me to sign. Sometimes I have a book on my table and I'll say, I had that book. And it's just good.
Tom and I were he was invited to be a guest at the Nashville Comic Con, and we discovered that Amanda Connor and Jimmy Palmiotti were also appearing. As a matter of fact, their table was right next to ours, so that was fabulous to be
Yeah.
reunited and see them after all these years. But every once in a while, someone would come over, and Jimmy and Amanda would say, "Hey," because Amanda was getting Barbie comics. They go, "Hey, the editor's over there." And when I go to the Comic Cons, I usually go to support Tom. And I was like, "Oh, well." They were excited to meet the Barbie editor, so I got a big kick out of that. And they were big fans, and one of them, oh, actually, this was Beauty and the Beast, but one of them, I was also the Disney editor, but one of the fans had a giant tattoo of Belle on her calf. It was interesting, but that was a lot of fun. You kind of forget the impact you have.
And Amanda drew the cutest Barbie. It was slightly different than mine, but so adorable. So
God, you were all fabulous.
she was
Mary
great.
Wilshire, Barb Roush, Anna, Amanda. Am I forgetting anybody? God, I hope not. But what a joy.
Those were the main ones. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we did have a couple like Win Mortimer and Jose Delbo,
Oh,
Dan
right.
Parent.
Right.
Yeah, they wanted to contribute. They usually got one issue because you ladies
They were
just
guys.
they were guys. You guys were so spectacular. And it was just such a joy, back in the days when we received the actual pencils, to receive those pencils, the things that you guys created and the fashions, and the action, motion, it was mind blowing. A real joy and privilege of my life in editorial. Really
Well,
special.
we were inspired by the stories that you accepted from the writers and edited.
Yes, I should mention Barbara Slate and Lisa Truciani were my lead writers. Trina Robbins contributed as well.
Mm.
And the stories that came out of these women, I mean, we did this for, I think we got to work for like 3.5, 4 years together. And they were just this font of fabulous stories, adorable stories, sweet, funny. I just was really lucky to have this team. I was so blessed.
Indeed.
Including you.
Were there particular elements that you were looking for in story submissions?
In the stories I received, well, like I said, Barbie was the star. We wanted to portray her in stories where she was kind and compassionate and what's the word?
Positive.
Positive, inclusive.
She was always positive. Yeah.
She was always positive. She had great solutions, and if she didn't, she knew who to talk to have good solutions. And I felt that we were talking. Anna and I were talking about a story that Anna actually drew, which took place in Paris. And we both reread it tonight, and I was like, "Wow, this is a great story! Look at the artwork!" And there it is. There it is.
Oh, there we go. It's not showing up because of my blurred background.
Oh, let me see. I have it here. Let's see if I can do it.
Oh wow! And I'll also put a digital copy in the video.
There it
How are we
is.
doing there?
Oh wow!
Oh, it's really hard to get
Love
it right.
it.
But look,
Number
how cute is that?
47.
How cute is that with the poodle in Paris? And anyway, her artwork and receiving the covers was what a joy. Here's another fabulous Anna cover. I'm gonna try to get this out of the way.
Nice.
With the guitar and the jeweled title. Anyway.
Yeah, the rhinestone Barbie.
Yes,
logo.
yes. I have a couple of those, but it doesn't quite translate the way I'm holding them up.
I was always so pleased when Hildy had me do the cover and all of the inside. It was all of a piece, Usually there were 2 stories maybe, and they might have been done by different artists, but when I got the whole issue, it was happy days. And that country western issue is one of my favorites.
Oh, wow.
It has a very moving story about a girl trying to break into the country music business, and Barbie's holding a contest for best songwriter, and this girl from small town farm, she comes to Nashville, and she's not picked at first, so she goes back home and plays her song, and there's a page where everyone on the farm can hear her song. And her teenage brother hears it and tapes it, sends it to Barbie, and Barbie listens, says, "Hey, that's a warm song. It has a lot of feeling. It has heart." And so that the girl, of course, wins the contest and gets to perform at the Grand Ole Opry with Barbie. So
wow.
It was
in that Nashville convention, Tom and I drove by the Grand Ole Opry.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. It was on our hop on, hop off trolley tour.
Oh.
I used to live close to Nashville, but never made it to the Grand Ole Opry. Never did.
Oh.
Yeah. But I've been by as well, and it sounds like lots of wonderful memories of working on the title, and lots of wonderful connections with fans and readers through the mail and in person as well.
And we also illustrated their fashions that they sent in.
Right.
The well-known female artist. I'm kidding. Mort Todd is not a female. He was one of my guys.
Bless him.
Remember, he did all the fashions. You guys were too busy at the time to do fashions, but the kids would send in their fashions. I think that had been done. What was that title? Millie the Model.
Millie the Model.
Was that a Marvel? Yeah.
And I did a mini series for Archie about Katie Keene,
Oh, Katie Keene, right,
and
right.
people send in fashion, and it never was printed. This 4-issue miniseries never saw print, but boy, it was fun to do.
Oh, what a shame.
Tanya Del Rio wrote it with me. We plotted it and wrote it, and I don't know.
Oh,
Those things happen.
well.
Oh well, it was a nice experience to draw it.
And I bet it was beautiful. Love
It
to
was a
see
lot
it.
of fun. It's pretty. It's very pretty. So,
Any particular story beats or story moments that stand out and resonate most over time? And we
I was
can
afraid you were going
go
to ask
to.
me. I
well,
start.
well,
Go ahead, Anna.
go. All right, you can think about now. Well, the country and western issue, the Paris issue,
Mhm.
and there's an issue. Where'd it go? Oh, my cat knocked it over. Barbie fashion number 52. I did the cover and a long story in the front of the book, and it's a love story of Ken's great grandparents and how they met and fell in love, and Ken, that of course they look like Barbie and Ken, these characters, but it was in Victorian costume and decor and everything. And I love doing historical stuff like that. And it was just a sweet, sweet story. Um, on the first page, Barbie's in the basement helping Ken fix the furnace for his grandparents. And they find a letter from the great grandparents stuck in the wall, and so they asked his grandparents, what can you tell us about this? So grandma tells the story, and I illustrated that. And it was just a sweet,
Beautifully.
heartwarming story with lots of women in pretty dresses.
Love
When Anna and I spoke earlier, I did reread that story. It was lovely. But one of the things I loved that you did, Anna, was the grandmother on the widow's walk looking for her sailor. Boy, that.
Oh yes,
Wow, that was
because the
powerful.
great grandpa Ken, I guess, was a sea captain, and he had to sail away. And of course, great grandma, was in love with him and must wait for him to return. He does,
Yeah,
of course.
it was very dramatic the way you portrayed it. It was beautiful.
I know. Well, thank you. It was just an inspiring story, and I like that kind of thing. So, those three
sorry.
stand out for me. Those 3 issues. Go ahead.
So I just thought of a story. There's so many, and I should have sat down and read through a few more. But one that I just remembered was it also took place in France in a castle. But the reason I remember is because Barbara Slate had actually been invited by a friend of hers to some sort of prince, and she took pictures all over this castle, which was really ornate, and told a story. I can't remember the story, but I remember that Barbara Rausch was the artist because she was so ornate and detailed. Oh my goodness! So it's just
perfect
this beautiful
choice.
castle, drawn from this real life prince. I wish I could remember the story, but that's the one that stands out in my mind. It's like, whoa, look at the detail in this. And Barb Rausch's inker was John Lucas. Usually, he was probably the only person that could ink Barbara Rausch. She was. You were all fantastic. You each had your own style, but Barb was very intricate.
Yeah, she was. God bless her. We miss her.
Yeah.
And Trina, she contributed a lot to the series. Really
she did.
She wrote and she inked me a few times too.
Yeah, I forgot that she inked. Wow.
Yes.
Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, she was a force. Definitely a force.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
If I'm a listener and I want to find out more about your work, or if I want to see these books that we've been talking about, any particular places that you would recommend people go?
Well, if for the books, they would have to search them out at their local comic shop.
We're fans of
And
the LCS, absolutely.
and yes, and they tend to be rare. When I do conventions, if I know a comic shop guy that's going to be at the convention, I say, sell me whatever you have that I've worked on. And sometimes they have it, sometimes they forget them. Just did a
What about
show at,
Amazon?
oh,
Anything on Amazon?
I don't know if they're on
Oh,
Amazon.
okay.
I don't know. But I know they're available on certain websites, which I cannot remember at the moment. But if you want to see more of my work, I'm on Instagram, Anna Maria Be Cool, all one word. And I'm on Facebook.com/amcoolart. And that's my art of page. So I do have a lot of Barbie pages there, and Elvira and some other pieces and commissions too.
Love it, love it. Hildy, any spaces that you would add?
Well, uh, I would say since Marvel, my biggest body of work has been with Barbara Slate.
Mhm.
And I believe some of her books are actually in bookstores and probably on Amazon. Um, uh, and at barbaraslate.com. I'm not here to plug Barbara, but I will plug her because she's wonderful.
Anytime, absolutely.
She's wonderful. And then, I mean, really, as an editor, there's a couple novels that have been published, but that's for the writer. People aren't going to look for it because of me, for sure.
Very, very generous of you. Very generous of you. We have just a few minutes, and I think I have one more question, which I think would be appropriate, and that is anything kind that you'd like to say about each other before we close out the interview?
Aww.
Anything kind?
I can start. Anna Maria was, and now we're talking 30 something years ago. And we worked together for 4 or 5 years. She was lovely to work with, a magnificent talent, so creative. She blew my mind every time I get the pencils, and just a really, really nice person. And then in the years following, I saw some of the work she was doing. Elvira, I was like, whoa, this is gorgeous. And some of the other fantasy thing. Was there something Oz? Some of the word Oz?
There's a lot of Oz.
Okay, a lot of Oz,
I illustrated 2 novels and
okay,
a lot of short stories and some comics for Oz Story magazine.
okay. But anything I saw, whenever I saw it, whether you posted or something, I was just always in awe. So
Thank you.
it was a real pleasure to work with you and the other ladies. Again, one of the honors and privileges of my life.
Oh, that's so kind. Thank you, Hildy.
You are very
working with Hildy was wonderful. She was patient because I was always, fighting against time to get
deadlines.
stuff to her, the deadlines. But she was patient, and she was just really great to work with. And my inkers were pretty great too, and I enjoyed the scripts that I got through Hildy. I have to say though, the first editor for the Barbie books, Fabian, the first issue I drew for him, I don't know if he didn't accept it or Mattel didn't accept it, but it was not acceptable because it was not right. So I gladly redrew the whole issue, and and I did it right. And they said, okay, now you got it.
Wow.
My penciling was not tight enough, and it wasn't on model enough, and I just had to learn from that experience. But it was a good learning.
Well, they came to love you, that's for sure, because I never had any Anna Maria Cool art rejected.
Oh, really? I made her boobs too big on one cover, I think, and so the bullpen had to do a paste stop.
What a great memory!
Give her a smaller boobs. But, well,
by the way, let me just throw in a nod to the bullpen because John Romita was the art director. What a wonderful man, and what a fabulous artist. And then and Virginia Romita and the Bullpen, they were always there for the patch ups and I guess the overly big boobs. But um, a shout out to those guys. They were great. And of
Yes.
course, my former boss, Tom DeFalco and Mark Grunwald, also really wonderful to work with at Marvel.
Well, the Marvel staff made us all look real good.
What a
And
crew. Yeah.
so we were happy. We were happy.
So it sounds like it was a really welcoming and warm team.
It was. It was. And we had a lot of fun, and
A lot of
I
nonsense.
I didn't get to New York as much as I liked, but when I was there at the offices, it was really great. I even stayed at Hildy's apartment.
Yeah, I think we had a Barbie night, right? Some of the
We
Barbie
did,
girls.
we did, and Amanda and Lisa and
Lisa and
and
and the baby,
the
right?
baby
Lisa's little baby Grayson, I think, was there. Oh, and Mary Wilshire.
and Mary Wilshire.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Barb Roush could not come. Was Barbara Slade there? I think no, I don't think she was.
I don't think so.
Anyway, it was a lot of fun. It was great to have the Barbie girls.
It was.
I have an apartment in Manhattan, and I have that same apartment in Manhattan. Yeah, when you have an apartment in Manhattan,
Nice.
you never let it go.
True enough.
But Tom and I also have a house on Long Island, so
Long Island. Do you rent out your apartment?
no.
No.
Well, anything that we've missed that you want to share before we close out?
Oh, let me see.
Hmm.
I'm checking my
When
notes.
it all ended, and Marvel canceled many books that year. This was what, 96?
About 96, yeah.
About 96. I always thought there should be a trade paperback, one for
Oh.
Barbie and one for Barbie Fashion, which would probably be a licensing nightmare.
Exactly. I'm just
Mm.
thinking, wouldn't that be nice? But
It
well,
would be so, like, for this new generation of girls. But
yeah, they're pretty
True.
timeless stories. Although Anna pointed out to the computer on one of the covers. Can you tell Jason?
very
that's so-
dated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, it was a good run, and we all had we learned a lot too.
we did. And I found out, Anna, that Barbie sold really well internationally. Did you know that?
I think I did know that.
I didn't.
So
I,
it was
yeah,
it was translated into different languages.
I guess, I didn't ask that question, but it
Hmm.
sold okay in the States. And I got this information from the former editor-in-chief of Marvel Comics.
Oh,
You
said that.
have
You
a
know
direct
who.
line.
I have a direct line. But he told me that it sold remarkably well in the direct market, but they only ordered a few copies. And when they say to Tom, oh, it sold really well, and Tom would say, well, why didn't you order some more copies and sell some more? But internationally it did well. But I don't know about the translation.
Hmm. I wonder if there could be a comic book adaptation of the movie done.
That would be wonderful.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
That would be wonderful. As a matter of fact, so Barbara, someone got in touch with me recently that the New York Comics Convention wanted to do a Barbie panel. And I was invited, but as you know, I'm really nervous about this type of thing. So I was really pondering it. And when I finally said, okay, I'll do it, apparently they canceled. It was like, what? Why would you cancel a Barbie panel when it's so popular right now?
True.
And this was last year, right? Wasn't this last year
No.
when the movie
was it?
came out?
Yeah, the movie came out last summer.
That would be a no-brainer, but oh well.
Yeah. And then some people have discovered that Barbie comics are selling at a much higher price point than previously, maybe because of the movie. I don't know if that's true.
Hmm.
I can believe that. I absolutely can.
Yeah. So a resurgence.
Yeah. I think this is a wrap. I'll just say many thanks to you both for a wonderful conversation, and so glad that I had the chance to talk with you both, and glad to have you back anytime to talk about comics and the experiences and all the things.